Welcome to the Uns Hangout with Jesse and Luke Miller of the legendary post-rock and dance music hybrid Lotus. If you have any questions for the guys, please leave them in the comments section below on the uns.com landing page or tweet them to us with the hashtag Lotus Hangout. Let's go ahead and get started, guys. First of all, congratulations on getting added to the 12th annual Wakarusa Music Festival lineup. Luke, does that feel like the World Series for a band of your ilk?
The World Series? I don't know. It's one of a cadre of jam band festivals. So I don't know. To me, there's like a lot that are in that same kind of area. You know, stuff that we play every summer, All Good, and things like, I guess Rothbury is no more, but you got Peach Fest going on, and I don't know. Like they're not that different. I mean, I have to fly to a different airport, I guess, but.
Jesse, there's so many acts on this lineup with whom you've shared bills over the years. Umphreys, Thievery Corporation, STS9, Big Gigantic. Are there any acts on the roster you're planning on catching simply as fans?
Well, I haven't really had a chance to check out the lineup. I think they announced maybe a bunch of acts today. But yeah, they know. We've played Wakarusa going back to I think we played the second one, so we've played it a lot of times. And I know they have a lot of music. Seems to go pretty much 24/7. So. I feel like if there's something you don't like, just walk to the next stage. You'll eventually find something.
Sure.
The Roots are there, though, right? The Roots?
Oh. Yeah, the Roots are absolutely playing it.
That's like the best hip-hop show I've ever seen. I haven't seen them in a few years.
That's exciting to have the Tonight Show band on your festival. Because you've been playing it for so many years, you've probably seen the lineup shift dramatically and seen the introduction and the huge influx of all these electronic acts. Luke, tell me a bit about how you've seen these lineups change over the years, not just in terms of which acts are on there, but these growing trends and changes while Lotus remains a favorite.
Well, the festival scene in general has increased a lot as far as the number of festivals and bringing in different music fans with electronic acts and stuff, kind of bringing that all together. So I don't know. It is a little shocking when you see a whole day of music and nobody plays a single instrument. I mean, that's a little disheartening to someone that has spent a lot of time learning how to play an instrument. But the energy that groups are bringing, regardless of what the instrumentation has gotten higher, I think.
Jesse, as you prepare for a festival like Wakarusa, is there a different mindset that you take on because there are fans of yours mixed in with general festival goers and people who are maybe there to see a completely different act? Is there a tweak to the Lotus set list, or when you huddle up before the show, is there something you discuss like, hey, we're going to go here with this song, or let's not get too jammy? Is there a discussion that happens?
I think just maybe in the song choices, we usually try to keep the energy pretty high, especially if sometimes at festivals we have 2 sets or really long sets, then maybe we'll explore a lot more. But if it's a 75-minute set or something, we want to keep it really dancey the whole time and just get that whole field or tent or wherever we are moving.
That makes sense. Before we get to fan questions, I want to talk about your upcoming Gilded Age tour. You're going coast to coast starting tomorrow in State College, Pennsylvania, and the tour runs right through February and into early March. How do you make sure that your chops stay fresh, that the set lists don't get too repetitive, that you really stay focused on Lotus in the midst of a massive run like that?
Well, it is hard, and I think the the we're hardest on ourselves, I think, and you got to remember that every night it's like we don't want to play the same jam, but at the same time, like, people weren't at the last 3 weeks of shows or whatever. So part of it is just like mentally being present, and if that means getting a healthy food or whatever. But as far as like playing different songs and stuff, like a lot of that's just prep beforehand. Like we just got out of rehearsals, and it's just like adding new pieces or bringing back old pieces that can like just expand that and give us more options on what songs we can play.
Jesse, you're at Stage AE in Pittsburgh on Friday, just down the road from where you recorded Nomad 10 years ago at Mr. Small's, and where you recreated the album live back in June. What was that like, revisiting the material so closely and in the same spot a decade later?
The pretty much all the material from Nomad has been in our rotation for quite a long time. I mean, even before we recorded that album, it was a lot of stuff that we kind of built our early sound around. So the only thing that was strange about it was kind of playing all those things in one set, because usually they all have like a similar vibe in that they came out of a certain era of the band. So putting them all back to back, I think one of the biggest challenge was when we were playing live was just to find ways when we were improvising to go different places.
Luke, why do you think fans still cherish those songs from Nomad all these years later after you've evolved sonically? Is that part of the impetus behind reissuing the album on vinyl, because fans have really clung to that material so closely?
Yeah, and just back then we couldn't afford to get, good level mastering, and people weren't really printing vinyl, so it was just a chance for us to kind of present that album in a higher sonic quality and in the vinyl format.
Is it that the songs have been with you and the fans have grown with them as you have, that keeps you putting them in the set list? I gotta imagine, you got this giant catalog to pick from when you're putting together set lists in the night, and I gotta imagine if at least a couple from Nomad don't make it into the set list over a 3-night run, I gotta imagine there's a riot brewing at your shows. Knowing how dearly fans hold those songs, is it a little bit more pressure for you when you bring them out live to make sure they're polished, or to really go further with them and really bring those songs to fans in a new light?
Yeah, so I think kind of what you're getting at is, to some degree, when we initially wrote those songs, or quite a few of them, had this, or they were kind of written to be showpieces of a set, like to be this thing that would have a really heavy hook, and like a lot of it's is kind of based on this very dance stuff, and we have a lot of improv that comes out of those. So yeah, there's quite a few on there that we kind of save for these big spots in the set, because we know it's something a lot of people have heard, and we know unless we really blow it, those songs are going to go off live.
Along those lines, Nitty Gritty is asking, what's your favorite song to play live? Luke, let's start with you.
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and I guess it's like choosing your favorite child. It's kind of hard. But I mean, usually it's like the newest thing that I've been working on writing. It's exciting to like play the new compositions and stuff. So I guess that's always like changing.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely like playing anything new. That's always exciting. But one of my perennial favorites to play is Behind Midwest Storefronts from the Hammer Strike album.
Sure, sure, a fan favorite. Speaking of the Midwest, is there a favorite spot along your way, especially on this Gilded Age tour that you guys get to hit? Colton Wagner's asking specifically what your favorite place to play is, but let's narrow it down to this Gilded Age tour because I know you're hitting a lot of your old favorite spots over the next couple of months.
Definitely looking forward to Stubbs in Austin. I mean, it's always amazing to play an outdoor show in the middle of a winter tour. But yeah, definitely very excited to be going to the Tabernacle in Atlanta for the first time. That's a place that, I mean, legendary, and we've played a lot of legendary venues, but we've never played that one. So very excited to go to the Tabernacle.
Luke, do you have a specific spot that really feels like home to you?
Um, Nothing's really jumping to the top of my head.
Just airport to hotel to green room for you, huh?
Well, no, it's like I don't know. I try to make every night. I try to give it 100% every night. So I feel like if you start getting in that mindset of like, oh, this is the spot. Let's like try to make this like the extra special show. That like, why isn't every show extra special?
That makes sense. That makes sense. You may not be able to answer this question, but do you have any plans to return to Jam on the River this Memorial Day weekend?
That will be. You'll just have to cross the old fingers.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Susan in New Orleans is asking, Luke, Jesse, can fans expect any Luke the Knife or Beer to Bees performances along the way with this tour?
Yeah, we got this Saturday. We're doing Luke the Knife and Beardo Bees, an after show in Syracuse, New York, at the Westcott Theater, and then next Saturday, the 31st, I'm doing an after show, Luke the Knife after show in New York City at BB King's. So that's the only shows lined up at this point.
Okay. And Luke, you wrote this amazing guide to new disco that we posted up on theUns.com exactly a year ago, back in January, and it's still super fresh. If people aren't familiar, Luke the Knife takes on house and old school disco and new disco. Tell me what's been coming across your playlist lately. A lot is changing in the industry as house is really making a resurgence, and has been for the past couple of years.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the deep house format kind of come into vogue because it doesn't have the instant gratification of some of the EDM drops. It's more of a longer form of music. I don't know. We'll see where that leads. I still haven't really seen a new disco act like really break out. There was that Flight Facilities album came out and like people were expecting a lot, but then beyond the single that was released 3 years ago, there wasn't really a song that kind of like swept the world. So I don't know. We're maybe still waiting for that really good new disco album that like makes that like the new it genre.
Gold Room's kind of popping up on some of the same lineups as you are. Is that classic new disco in the strictest sense of the word?
I would say so. I just saw him on Friday in Denver, and definitely the whole show just kind of bringing that sunny disco. Well, maybe not so much disco, but definitely the new disco house vibe, and the place was packed and it was going off. So I don't know, maybe Gold Room is one to watch.
Jesse, are you, as you have tended towards the more experimental side of glitch and beat music, have you come across any artists that we should be looking for? I know that you've curated a lot of lineups in the past, and and really tried to expose some of those left field acts that you've been into. Is anyone really inspiring you these days?
Well, I haven't really been doing any DJing, so I haven't been digging too deep into that stuff. I've been kind of focusing on the, I guess, live PA, but really it's this kind of modular synth set. So, yeah, the one from last year that really struck me was James Holden's album, The Inheritors. But really, anyone that's really diving into this more modular synth world, that's kind of inspiring for me, because that's what I've been working with, using for my live show at this point.
When you are putting together your live shows, I know it's a super complicated process because you're triggering everything live. Is there any thought of any studio work from you, because you work so hard at this set and assembling it, it takes so much time, may as well put it out, or is it the sort of thing where every night is so different that there's no real way to capture the Beardo Bees aesthetic?
No, it's something I want to do. We had time off the road from Lotus this fall, and we were doing a lot of studio work, but when I had downtime from that, I was spending most of that working on developing some new systems for less of what you're talking about, triggering samples, and more of actually live improvising with these synths and sequencers, and developing some of the software that I've built. So now that process is pretty far along and I've been able to perform with that setup, I'd definitely like to make some recordings for release and kind of write to that new method.
Perfect. And 7 weeks out on the road with Lotus, I'm sure that there's no real time to think or breathe, but after the tour completes, will it be back to the studio for you guys, or rest up before festival season? What's on the agenda for 2015?
Shows on shows. We got more shows that we haven't announced between the end of this tour and festival season, and some international stuff. So,
oh wow,
we've got a little more studio work to do, but we've mostly finished up our next project. So we're just kind of like putting the finishing touches on that.
And before I let you go, I got to nerd out on the Talking Head stuff. To be able to do that live at Red Rocks, that must have been just so much fun. Are we gonna see a return of Lotus Does Talking Heads, maybe more albums, or even take on different artists?
Well, we do have some shows when we're out in the West Coast. Pan Astral is opening up for us, and Gabe, who is the singer for the Talking Head shows, is in Pan Astral. So there's a possibility of maybe some of that stuff coming out when we're playing with him. But yeah, like I said, that show was really incredible. Had an amazing time. The one thing that's kind of tough about that is as far as like doing something like that again, it's hard to think of any other band that has the appeal to both us and a widespread people, a band that a lot of people know outside of things that we would probably want to stay away from, like The Dead, which is pretty overdone, or the Stones or Zeppelin or something.
Sure.
It's kind of hard to find a band that really fits that same bill as the Talking Heads, but it might be something that could happen. Who knows?
That's perfect. That's all we need to know. And folks out on the West Coast, you're in for some treats. I can assure you of that. Luke, Jesse, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. Where can fans find your upcoming dates and make sure that they know exactly where you're going to be at what time?
Well, I feel like they've probably been blasted with them a ton of times through Facebook now since we've just been leading up through this tour. But yeah, well, we're going to be all over the country, starting off in the Northeast, going south, all up the West Coast and through the Midwest. So we'll probably be someplace fairly close to you. You can go to our website, lotusvibes.com, or who knows? Type in Lotus tour dates in Google. I'm sure it'll come up with something.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much again. We'll have more of these hangouts with theunst.com coming your way soon. Stay tuned and take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.